Welcome to LSBU Talks, the new visual podcast from London South Bank University. So today we have Isabel Elia here with us. She graduated from our Game Design and Development course in 2022, and today she's going to tell us about her time at LSBU and what she's been up to since. Isabel, thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Can you start by telling us why it was that you decided to come to LSBU and study game design?
Honestly, I was like 2 weeks before my first A-level exam, and I hadn't applied to any universities, and I was thinking to myself, oh my god, like
Really?
I don't know what I want to do going forward. And I remember one of my friends said to me, if you could do anything in the world, regardless of your skill set, regardless of whatever, what would it be? I'd be a mini golf champion. And I was like, nice, all right. Means I'd write for games. And then she was like, so look into it, figure out how you can do it. I looked into it, I researched around, I heard really good things about LSBU from like Reddit posts and stuff like that, and I just went for it. I came to like a day where you could like meet the lecturers and have like a little taster session, and I had a really good connection with some of the lecturers, like off the bat. They gave me some like sort of homework already, and I'd done it over that summer, and it was a no-brainer that LSBU was where I wanted to go after that.
Had you done like kind of game designing, anything like that before, or were you just into gaming? Like how?
I've been into gaming since I was a kid. My very first purchase on my debit card was Minecraft back in like 2011 or 13 or whatever it was. So I've always loved gaming. I've always I played around, I mod games, I like tweaked a little bit with code, but my passion really is writing. And I thought, people have to write these games. They have to write these characters that I like love so deeply. So That's
cool. What games were you into then? What would you say when you were? Let's talk about then when you were going into LSBU. Like, what were your top games then that were inspiring you to want to be in?
They haven't moved that much.
Okay.
So Dragon Age Origins is like my favorite game of all time. It's got really gorgeous characters. It's sort of inspired by D&D, like the group's the developers D&D game.
Okay.
So really nerdy high fantasy stuff, and couple of British games, the Fable game series. It was made by a company that was based in Guildford.
Okay.
So it's got a very strong British sense of humour with some great British casting. So that's one of my favourites. Very, very cheeky, very British, very
that's fun.
Close to home.
And were there any games that you discovered whilst like studying here that became like new favourites of yours?
Yeah, quite a few actually. One of the things I really enjoyed about the course was we were encouraged to play more indie style games, because they're the kind of games that you as an individual would be able to make without going into like a AAA game studio. And we would go on a website called itch.io as part of our like weekly homework when we were trying to figure out our what our final year project was going to be, and we played quite a lot of smaller games made by a small bunch of people or a small studio, and like there are so many that I love that are like narrative adventures that just you wouldn't see on like the Xbox or like on a big console like that. You might do now, times have changed, people have fallen in love with that, but I remember when I was on the course I was like, whoa, this is a really interesting way to explore narrative in a medium that isn't just like film and television. It's like film, television plus. You know?
Because you're like interacting with it, which is brilliant.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, that's really fun. And do you still play those games now? That's
I very recently spent a weekend playing a bunch of them with my partner, introducing him into like narrative design in this very small game. And it was made locally to where I live in Sweden now. So
that's
that
brilliant.
was even cherry on top.
Yeah, that's lovely. Oh, cool. What was it like then? Because I don't know very much about kind of like the gaming course or anything. What was the ratio of like men to women in that course? Were you in the like minority, or was it quite split now?
Yeah, I remember when I first joined, because I joined in 2017. I took like a year out to do like an internship, and I also took a year out in general. But when I first joined, there was very few of us. There was maybe one or two of us in the year. But I remember by the time I graduated that the new intake was pretty well rounded. I was really happy to see it. It was I feel like that's the way the industry's going at the moment as well. I think like on average these big AAA companies have like 24% female employees, female non-binary employees. And I feel like the course is a really good representation of that. Maybe even plus. So it's definitely in the right vein of where we want it to go, and it seemed like it was increasing so every year.
That's good. That's nice. I think it's important to have that kind of what's the word, representation across it.
100%.
And in the industry, do you find it like is getting better like since you've joined it as like a professional?
I definitely will say I remember having a few student situations where I felt a little bit kind of left out, but actually that was like these really smaller game studios that were how do I describe this? There's a company that works with students for game design called Yuki, and they organize these big events. And I remember having a weird interaction with an individual at one of those and thinking, oh my God, like I don't want to work in this industry if this is what it was. And I remember one of my lecturers coming to me and being like, be the change you want to see. You know, like be his boss one day.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I will be.
Yeah.
So that's what kept me going. And I've never had an interaction like that since.
That's good.
Every single person I've met, like incredibly kind, nice, passionate people. I think that's what you actually see when you see the professional industry is the people in there. The bad ones get weeded out pretty quickly, you know.
That's good.
Yeah.
As it should be.
Exactly. And it's incredibly safe space.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
What was the course like? Was it quite small? Like how big was it? Did you have a lot of interactions with one another, like helping each other with games and things?
Yeah. One of my favorite parts was because I love writing. I love, I do production now, which is like project management kind of decision-making stuff. But not super practical with coding.
Okay.
Can't make music to save my life. Games need all these things, right?
Yeah.
So a huge part of it was collaboration. So you would have individual modules where you were put into a set group.
Okay.
You were encouraged to do like extracurricular, what we call game jams, where you would like a bunch of friends over a weekend, you make a game in 2 days.
Yeah.
And this kind of you know, having to work with different people and making new teams constantly really helps. I think it helps a lot of people who've just come out of university, maybe haven't worked in a professional environment before, understand what teamwork looks like in a professional environment. And it also really helps. I have some in my final year project. I'm so proud of it. I had some incredible concept art, and I had some incredible sound design on that. None of that was me. That was all my fellow students who I helped them with their project management. I got their planning into shape, and they helped me out there. And it was a really like wholesome vibe on the course. I really will say.
That's good. I think it is so important. You're right to have that kind of practical skills of how to work in a team, because that is something that other courses I feel like don't always have. So it's so good that you knew how to do that off the bat. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Do you still talk to anyone from the course?
Yeah, a couple of people actually. So I think it was summer of last year. A bunch of some people from the course who are also working in the gaming industry now went to. There's a Nordic Games Festival, and because it was in the city that I lived in, I went and I saw them all. And one of my lecturers, he does incredible networking opportunity. He does something called karaoke, which is karaoke, but the lyrics have been changed to be about video games, and it's actually really fun. Have a couple of drinks and you're in it, right? But there are so many industry professionals there, and you know they all know that Steve, the lecturer that I'm talking about, he teaches and he has students that he wants to like help out as much as he can. And it's just such a wholesome environment. But I remember, you know, getting on stage and, you know, singing and seeing some like familiar faces in the audience, like, oh no.
Do you remember what you sang?
Yeah, it was a song called Common People by Pulp. Yeah. But it was changed to be about console people. So it was like a dig at like PC players who would think they're the master race of gaming. But it's always really fun. That's so funny. I love that. That's really, very niche, but cool. Yeah, exactly. But I think anyone, if you go there and you expect the vibes to be karaoke but video games, you can have a good time. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Fair. What other, do you think of any other lecturers that you had like a good relationship with or that you remember from your time at LSBU? Yeah, definitely. My course director, Andy, was like the sweetest individual I've ever met in my life. I remember like at one point really feeling like I was burning out and feeling so overwhelmed with everything. And he just took me down to Mercato, you know, just down the road from here. And he got me a little ice cream cake. And we sat and we chatted. And it was so wholesome. That's lovely. Was just what I needed. I just needed a bit of like grounding, reality. Obviously, like I'm born and raised in Southeast London, but I moved closer to uni in my final year. And like, I just needed that little bit of like companionship that you don't get when you're away from home. And Andy was absolutely wonderful that he still is so supportive on like LinkedIn. I love Andy to pieces. Like I said, Steve was fantastic as well. And James Wallace, the narrative teacher, because I love narrative, and he opened my eyes to so many things. Talk us through after graduation then, like what did you do next? What was your kind of first job out of uni? Are you still in that now? Like what was that progression like into the big wide world? Yeah. So while I was closing up my final year at uni, I was applying for jobs. I think that's a really nice time to do it because get in there early. Like everyone's going to be doing it after they graduate. If you can send out a few like feelers, that's always helpful. So I applied for Ubisoft out in Sweden, and I was interviewing whilst doing my final. Like it was pretty intense, but it was obviously worth it because now I live out in Sweden. I'm still working at Ubisoft, but it was a few months of getting paperwork sorted out for the move and stuff. But it's the gaming industry is notoriously difficult to get into. I can imagine. And I think proactivity is so incredibly important. I think it is in every field and industry, but I really think within gaming you really have to like network and apply for jobs, apply for internships. That's what really helped me. I got an internship during my time here. At EA I worked on 2 games, so I was leaving university with 2 like professional credits.
That's great.
And it was so good, and even then I was still like, oh my god, am I gonna get back in? Like but yeah, it's a lot of my friends as well spent time. The ones that were actually in the industry, in AAA industry, we were also we were like applying for the same sort of jobs together. And like, I've seen this, you should apply for this.
That's nice.
So I think the key really is to do it just beforehand. I know it's a little hectic. I know it's a little crazy when you're like, you got your deadlines, you got your dissertation that's due, but spend 5-10 minutes a day just scrolling, clicking apply through LinkedIn, and yeah.
Smart. Okay, I like that. And was the kind of internships and stuff, was that something that LSBU encouraged? Was it part of the course, or was it just things that you and your classmates kind of took the initiative to do?
Little combination. So I would talk regularly with my lecturers and I'd try and get advice from them. We were encouraged to do this like game jam, and we came like second out of the whole of the UK for it.
Well done.
And they were like, use this as a portfolio piece, go. Like so I had a lot of support from my lecturers. I was like, do you know anyone that works there? Like, who should I do, like, how do I go about this? And it was actually really critical to getting that job. I remember one of my first interviews, something that I'd done as part of my module came up in the interview. Like, They were like, hey, have a blog. Doesn't seem that important nowadays. Immediately they were like, oh, that blog post you made, that was really interesting. And I was like, thanks, Dee. So it was a lot of support from the uni for it. It was us going out and finding them ourselves, but that was a huge part of the learning as well, right? Not everything's going to be sort of handed to you, and I love that about university.
No, it's a bit like they kind of push you to do it but help you along the way.
Exactly, right? It's a support. It's not like a spoon feeding. And that's exactly what you need when you're transitioning from A levels to uni.
No, you're so right. And then why Sweden? What was it about? Was it just, is that a good place for gaming, or did you want to live there? Like, what was that choice made by?
I didn't realise it was a good place for gaming, but it definitely is. But I wanted to work on Star Wars, and they're making a Star Wars game. So I was like, I've got to apply there. And I didn't even like think I'm going to have to move countries for this. It was just like cool opportunity. Let's go for it. So.
Okay, fair. And it's nice being able to know what you want to do enough that you're willing to kind of move, and like the job's important enough that you change. Okay, lovely. And then what would you say is maybe changing about the industry that you would want students who are studying now to like be aware of, or any trends that are coming up that you think are important for them to like take note of?
I think super controversial AI. I think that's going to be the case for any industry, but obviously very much games. I think the discussions I hear with like people who've been in the industry for a very long time, and as well as like juniors, is this AI thing is here to stay. Let's figure out how we can use it. Let's not like shun it. Let's not push it aside and hope that it never becomes a thing, and it's not going to take our jobs, but it is going to be a part of our jobs. So it's like learning these tools and resources as soon as you can, because that's only going to benefit you. And a lot of these bigger game studios are developing in-house AI so that they can their employees can use it and do that without any risks of anything leaking or anything like that. So it's I would say definitely do that. I love writing. I use it for writing in my own personal work because I know that it's going to be the norm in a few years' time. So the sooner you're ahead of the curve, the better.
That's fair. And you do have to kind of jump on. You can't avoid it, can you? No, you can't resist it when it's something that is obviously growing.
Exactly.
What would you say is your kind of biggest achievement career-wise since leaving LSBU?
I think, I'm trying to figure out what I can say within NDA. I I do project management for the entirety of audio on the upcoming Star Wars game.
Wow.
So that's a huge responsibility. And this will be in my actual years in industry, which is like almost 3 in total. This will be my 4th AAA title shipped, which a lot of people work in the industry for like years and years and years. And their projects get cut or like just thrown into the void, and they don't have that. So I think it's really incredibly cool that I can kind of show these things off. So,
that's brilliant. That's really impressive work.
Thank you.
Last question then. So are there any like valuables? Obviously you've spoken a lot about like everything you learned at LSBU in the time there. Is there anything specifically that you've really taken with you that you remember kind of being taught that you now not just use kind of in your career, but also just your life in general as a graduate? Because a lot of our students who will be watching this, it's quite daunting, isn't it? Like leaving that world. And whilst university does give you more freedom, it is still a bit of a security blanket. So what have you kind of taken with you from LSBU that you've kind of put into practice in your life since leaving?
Interesting question. I think one huge thing is not being afraid to ask for help. That was a huge part of my time here. I like had a burnout because I didn't ask for help, right? I had to learn the hard way. And I think there is no shame in it. It's only going to make your life easier. If you're struggling, reach out. There are people who are there to support you and will help you, because you may have to do that when you go out into the real world as well. Yeah. Right? One of the biggest things that you see in the gaming industry is burnout, and it's heartbreaking. Yeah. It's pretty intense, you know. But if the sooner you learn to be comfortable with discussing these things in a comfortable manner, then you're gonna do a lot better for it in the long run. Yeah. Because your mental health always comes first. It does. That's a good lesson to learn, I think, early. Why do you think it is like burnout so common in the industry? The industry is very intense. I can imagine. It's these huge projects with huge budgets, and oftentimes you're working with intellectual properties that aren't owned by yourselves, so you have to appease multiple stakeholders. Right. And I think that for a lot of people, you take a lot of responsibility when you're doing something creative. This is your baby. You know, this isn't just like a piece of art that you've done and you're gonna hang it on the wall. This is something that like that could be completely critiqued and chucked in the bin kind of thing. And that's hard. That's a really hard like lesson to learn, is to take that kind of constructive criticism. Yeah. And I think if you're getting that on quite a regular basis, and you're not very good at maybe separating that, or even there's no time to improve what you've been given like feedback on, you can't even do that. It can take quite a toll on you if you know, like it's your baby. Yeah, of course. Can you tell us what it means to you to be an LSBU alum, part of that community? Yeah, I'm incredibly proud of being an LSBU alum. My dad actually attended LSBU like years and years beforehand. Yeah, really? he's an alum as well. We should have got him on with you. Yeah, that would be quite funny. That would have been really cute, actually. But no, so it was something that you know, my family were first generation immigrants. They had to, you know, the fact that they went to university at all was like such a proud moment. So that when I ended up going to the same place that my dad went to, it really just, I wanted to go here because of that as well. There was this like connection, there was this tie to it. So final question for you now. What advice would you firstly give to students who are just about to join LSBU or are thinking about joining? And then secondly to students who are just about to graduate and go out into the world? I think if you're just joining, I think it's really important to like take in every aspect of university life. It's not just because it's very easy to first year you get into the party and you think, oh, you know, the first year grades don't matter, blah 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 blah. Everything, all of it counts. All the work you put in is all going to ultimately pay off. But you are human. You need to have fun, and that is a huge part of university. Is that like you're independent. It's all of this. So keeping track of yourself, keeping like checking in with yourself regularly, and you know, don't be too scared of like what the future holds. You know, what you may join the course and be like, oh, actually, within a few weeks, maybe this isn't what I want to do going forward. Life is flexible. It may not feel like it, but it's important to know that. But I feel like when you're here, it's going to be a great experience no matter what, and you'll get the support you need. But I think for any students that are about to graduate, it's be proud of the work that you've done, because it is intense. University is an incredible journey, and it really makes you grow as an individual. So pat yourself on the back for that. And I think just keep your ear to the ground in whatever it is that you want to do, network, get a good portfolio if that's relevant to the work that you do, and don't give up on it, because you'll find your way.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you so much as well. It was lovely to have you here and for you to share your story with us. I think it's really inspiring.
Thank you.
You can find us on YouTube and Spotify, so please stay tuned for our upcoming episodes. We can't wait for you to hear them.